Good evening, it's December 22nd. I'm Leandra Bernstein, and this is A World in Review. The Congress has left town. Those Democrats who lost their elections have all packed up their boxes and are heading back to their districts unemployed. Obama has now officially become the first African-American Republican president, and the question for many of our bankrupt states is not what, but who will be under their Christmas trees this year. So it's an appropriate time to reflect on how we got to the present situation we find ourselves in, which boils down essentially to the Democrats' failure to push through a reinstatement of Glass-Steagall before the November 2nd election, when they still had a chance to do it. Now, if we're going to have a United States for the incoming members of Congress to swear an oath of office to, we're going to have to pull together what is left of the Democratic Party and the human members of the Republican Party to raise no other glass this holiday season but the Glass-Steagall. As Michelle Fuchs reported earlier today, nothing makes a case for Glass-Steagall clearer than the governor of California. Right now, you have Arnold Schwarzenegger running the state, who's the chosen asset of the founder of the British Empire's now bankrupt Inter Alpha group of banks, Lord Jacob Rothschild. It's now Rothschild's Inter Alpha group creation, which is looting the people of Europe, like in Ireland, Portugal, and Spain, just as his governor is doing to the people of California. It's now been 7 years since the Austrian sex maniac took office, and California is now unable to cover the basic needs and services for the people. And on top of that, there's virtually no capacity to handle the state of emergency in 6 different counties as a result of the flooding, which is even worse this year since there hasn't been an upgrade in infrastructure for decades, and the state is bankrupt. So as you heard from Lyndon LaRouche in the report earlier today, we will not wait for Schwarzenegger's term to be up. He has to go now. The lack of infrastructure, the grossly inadequate number of police, firefighters, and emergency workers due to his budget cuts represent deliberate acts of sabotage against the once productive state of California. And when Schwarzenegger goes, he should make sure to take Obama with him. Now, without implementing Glass-Steagall to reorganize our banks and give us the ability to run a Roosevelt-style federal bailout of the states, we're literally looking at the disintegration of states and municipalities in the coming weeks. Last night, LPAC organizers attended a city council meeting in Newark, New Jersey, where over 80 people showed up, enraged and hysterical about the breakdown of the city. After the layoffs of 167 police officers took effect only 3 weeks ago, there were 15 carjackings in a single day, which was the day of the city council meeting. One resident got up to speak on affordable housing, saying there's none available in the city, that now she has 15 people living in her 5-bedroom apartment, and if nothing is done about her situation and others in similar situations, it will create a pressure cooker for domestic violence. So this breakdown crisis is breeding and multiplying these symptoms in cities and counties across the United States. And there's going to be no competent approach to handle the symptoms of crime, violence, and poverty without addressing the crisis itself with Glass-Steagall. Some residents in Newark responded to that, along with the president of the city council, who requested a meeting with LaRouchePAC to discuss the Glass-Steagall solution further. So we're at a point where the fuse has been lit. That's what you're seeing with the rise in social chaos. But the bomb that is waiting to be detonated is the entire U.S. system, and really the entire transatlantic monetary financial system. And with the recent decision by Bernanke at the Fed, the fuse is getting shorter and shorter. As we've reported on this website, it has been the United States Federal Reserve that has been fueling the hyperinflation worldwide, as was revealed in the Fed's multi-trillion-dollar bailout of European Inter Alpha banks. I mean, at this point, someone really has to take Bernanke aside and just gag the poor bastard, because he shouldn't be allowed to speak, let alone to utter policy. Just today it was announced that the Fed would continue unlimited swap lines, that is, unlimited trading with European, Japanese, and Canadian banks of US dollars for their currencies. And it will be unlimited. But really, is there anything that the Fed does nowadays that isn't unlimited? And similarly, is there anything that the inner alpha banks and Wall Street banks need that isn't unlimited? For example, at the EU-China dialogue yesterday, Chinese officials agreed that they would help bail out the bankrupt European and inner alpha banks by paying into the European Stability Fund. So now China is being invited by the inner alpha group to have a seat next to them on the bomb that's ready to blow. So that's the world situation. We're all sitting on that bomb that's ready to go off, and we have very few options. We have the option that was put before the U.S. Congress before the November election to defuse the hyperinflation through Glass-Steagall and save our states under a Roosevelt-style relief program. Or we have the other option, which has gotten us this far, which is to leave Obama in the White House with his newfound Republican majority and lose the nation, and as it stands, the rest of the world along with it. So tonight, there's no good news. There are options, and there's an incoming slate of 6 candidates from across the country who are dedicated to the survival option, removing Obama, reinstating Glass-Steagall, and getting a real recovery started under the NWAPA program. We'll be hearing more from them, hopefully as soon as this weekend. But until then, stay tuned to LaRouchePAC.com. We'll see you tomorrow morning.